We cannot come up with a motive for this man to be dead. We can't come up for reasoning for him to be here. Every aspect of this case is mysterious.
Hey you, and welcome. My name is Mike, and in this video, we're going to look at the bizarre events that led to one unexplained, also bizarre, death. Blair Adams was a 31-year-old Canadian resident who was found dead in the parking lot of a Knoxville, Tennessee hotel on July 11th, 1996. Scattered around his body was nearly $4,000 worth of mixed Canadian, American, and German currency. His death was later discovered to have been caused by a blow to the stomach. But by whom? And there was more suspicious evidence at the crime scene. So, what events led to the very suspicious death of this man in a parking lot thousands of miles from his home? It is quite strange, so let's look into it. Blair Adams was a cheery, bright young man. He was fun-loving and friendly. He was a foreman with a construction company in Surrey, British Columbia. Man, there's a serious amount of cases from British Columbia. What happens up there? He was a hard worker who enjoyed his job. It wasn't until a few weeks before his death that people started to notice a change in character. According to his mother, Sandra Edwards, Blair began having mood swings and had suddenly become irritable and short-tempered. Sandra said something was obviously very much the matter. He hadn't been sleeping well. Something was wrong. I asked him numerous times what was wrong, and he said, "I don't think I should tell you about it." No one knows what he was scared of and what he was worried about. On Friday, July 5th, 1996, Blair's behavior became increasingly concerning. Blair withdrew his savings of more than $6,000 in cash and thousands more in jewelry. He made an escape plan to the United States, specifically Tennessee. Why Tennessee? No one knows. Maybe he just really loved bourbon and rock and roll. But I mean, yeah, who doesn't? On Sunday, 2 days after he withdrew his savings, Blair attempted to enter the United States, but he was denied passage as he fit the profile of, what else? A drug trafficker. A young, single male with large amounts of cash and valuables on his person. What else would he be wanting other than some lettuce and the devil's dandruff? Upon returning back home to Canada, after being denied entry to the US, he quit his job and he collected his last check. He was pretty committed at this stage to try and disappear himself. That afternoon, Blair spent $1,600 of his savings on a round-trip airline ticket to Frankfurt, Germany, where his girlfriend currently lived. Though she wasn't expecting him, she had no idea any of this was going on. Blair had met her when he had been employed at his stepfather's construction company near Frankfurt the year prior. While his girlfriend described him as a loving man, another man he worked with described him as abrasive and confrontational and was occasionally involved in fights. Going against other descriptions of him, he seemed to be an odd, complex guy. And Blair won't get to Germany either. It was becoming clear to Sandra that her son appeared to be running from something or someone. But when questioned about his behavior, Blair would evade her questions, withholding any information about what was really going on. Blair's last interaction in Canada would be with a friend. Blair had arrived to her friend's house unannounced, clearly in great distress. Blair revealed that someone was trying to kill him, but again refused to say anything further. His friend said that she was unable to help. Now, Blair had once said to his girlfriend and another friend that he dreaded his co-workers returning back to Canada from Germany because he believed they wanted to hurt him. Thing is, did something happen in Germany while he was working there? Honestly, we don't know. There's no information about it. But I believe something happened in Germany. But this gets even stranger. Blair's flight to Germany was to leave the following day after he purchased the ticket, but Blair had no intention of boarding. Blair turned in his tickets, rented a vehicle, and this time was successful in entering the United States. Blair first arrived in Seattle, where he purchased a one-way ticket to Washington, D.C. This was strange to investigators when they were following up this case, as it's a hell of a lot cheaper to buy a round-trip ticket than it is a one-way ticket, or at least it was in this particular circumstance. Very interesting. He obviously didn't care about money, and he obviously had no intention of coming back. Blair arrived in DC early Wednesday morning and traveled to Knoxville, Tennessee. This was also strange because he did not know anyone in Tennessee, or specifically Knoxville. The only thing I can even think of about Knoxville is, well, you know.
Hi, I'm Johnny Knoxville. Welcome to Jackass.
Witnesses first saw Blair at a Knoxville gas station around 5:30 p.m. Blair complained to the gas station attendant that his rental car wouldn't start. The attendant told him he had the wrong keys. They searched for the car keys together, both around the premises and through the windows of the vehicle, but they were nowhere to be found. The gas station attendant pressed Blair to search his pockets, but according to the attendant, Blair adamantly refused. What the hell did he do with the keys when he arrived in Knoxville? If they were in his pockets, he was just pretending they weren't. What's the point in doing that? This case makes a lot of not sense. The rental car company had already closed for the day, and Blair would be stranded in Knoxville until the following morning. Blair was, however, able to hitch a ride to the closest motel. An employee at the hotel remembered Blair, saying the best way to describe him would be paranoid. He just was very nervous, agitated, expecting someone to come in on him, even though there wasn't anybody there. I don't know who he was looking for, but he was waiting for someone to walk in on him. The motel's security cameras caught that in the span of an hour, Blair went in and out of the lobby 5 times before he finally paid for a room. After checking in, Blair put the room key in his pocket, but rather than going to his room, he exited the motel through the front door and never returned. This was at 7:37 p.m., and that was the last time Blair would be seen alive. Approximately 12 hours later, Blair's body would be discovered in a parking lot, about half a mile from the motel. Blair was naked from the waist down, his shoes were off, his socks were turned inside out, and his shirt had been torn open. Very interestingly, scattered around Blair's body was $4,000 in American, Canadian, and German currency. There was also a small sack that contained Blair's material valuables, such as gold and jewelry, estimated to be worth $2,000. Another strange clue at the site of the crime was the key to Blair's rental car, one which he claimed he lost. It was found right beside him. According to the autopsy report, Blair sustained many cuts and abrasions, but the cause of death was ultimately determined to be a violent blow to his abdomen that ruptured his stomach. A weapon, likely a club or a crowbar, sliced his forehead open. Signs showed that Blair put up a fight, as his hands were beaten and bloodied as he held them up in his defense. In his fist was a long strand of someone's hair, the only significant piece of evidence found at the crime scene. Certain injuries indicated that Blair was sexually assaulted, but no DNA evidence was found, and it was unclear as to when the assault occurred. Although Blair had suffered with substance abuse and addiction in the past, in the previous 2 years before his death, his family and friends claimed he was totally sober, and there were no signs of drugs or alcohol in his system. Though there was a history of mental health illness in Blair's family, he himself had never shown any signs of any mental health issues. The only person who reported any suspicious activity prior to Blair's death was a security guard from a nearby business, who claimed that he heard an abrupt scream from what he believed to be a woman's voice around 3:30 a.m. Blair's family and the investigators are completely puzzled as to why he would go to Tennessee. He had connections, obviously he's in Canada, Germany, but nothing that they were aware of, that his close friends and family were aware of in Tennessee. There was nobody there he knew. As the reason why he went to Knoxville, Tennessee, of all places in the world, remains completely unanswered, as does what happened to him when he arrived. He was running from something or someone he was scared of. He wouldn't tell anybody about it. He goes to a location that nobody could presume to know he would go there. It was totally off the grid regarding his life and people he knew and places he knew. But he still ended up being murdered under very suspicious circumstances there. Coincidence? Maybe. Who knows? Theories range from a sex act gone wrong to a coincidental attack, and that Blair's paranoia was caused by a mental break. Or that he was right, and whatever he was scared of, it got him. How it knew he was going to Tennessee remains a complete mystery. I mean, in my opinion, one of the strangest things about his death is that he had $4,000 in cash money surrounding his body. Like, it was there in the open. And then another $2,000 in gold and jewelry right beside him also. But it was all left there. It was untouched. Nothing was stolen. Nothing was robbed from his body. So what happened? Why did somebody kill him? Why did somebody kill him and not take a substantial amount of money that was right there? Investigators have exhausted most of their leads in this case, but they are still working on it. But, you know, it's over 22 years now since his death. The chances of them getting a break are slim to nil. And his death and the circumstances surrounding it will likely remain a mystery. Thank you so much for watching. I really, really appreciate it. I'll see you in the next video. Mike out.